What's going on, everybody? Zach Macmillan back with you for Let's Talk Mortgage. Today we're talking about pre-qualifications, pre-approvals. What are they? What do they do? Why do you need one? So please stick around. It's going to be information packed. Let's do it. So if you're working with a realtor, if you're working with a builder, it's very likely they're going to tell you before they even start showing you homes that they're going to want you to get pre-qualified or pre-approved. And this is regardless of whether you're a first-time home buyer or you already own a home and going to buy another one or a second home and so on and so forth. But the reason why your realtor will ask you for a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter is essentially because of the fact that they want to know how much home I'm supposed to be showing you. By getting a pre-qualification, your pre-approval letter, it's going to give you the amount of home they say can approve you for, your interest rate, the anticipated down payment you're putting down, what program they're going to be using. And so they're going to take this letter and say, okay, we got Mr. McMillan he's pre-qualified for a $220,000 home. So I'm going to show him homes that fall within that price range. Now, maybe I could show him something for $250 if he spoke to a lender and said, hey, they can go up. But typically, they're going to show you stuff within that range that's on your pre-qualification or your pre-approval letter, which is why they ask you for these documents when you get ready to start looking for a home. So you know what to show you, okay? So a pre-qualification and a pre-approval are two different things, two completely separate things. Very similar, but different things altogether. Let's start with a pre-qualification. So a pre-qualification is an application filled out using mostly stated information. You're stating the time on your job, your previous job history, your stated amount you have in your bank account, your stated down payment. Basically, we're not verifying any of this information. The only information we are verifying, we are going to pull your credit report. So when we pull your credit report, we can at least get a true idea of what we think your debt to income is going to be, because it's going to matter a lot when it comes to deciding a program for you. So that's one of the factual informations we'll get when doing a pre-qualification. But other than that, most of the information is going to be stated. Like I said, your job, how much money you think you have, things of that nature. When using this stated information, we're going to gather this information, your credit report, your stated income and information, assets, and we're going to run that through a system called AUS, Automated Underwriting System. Now, that could be comprised of DU, which is Desktop Underwriter, LP, which is Loan Processor. You don't need to understand what these terms are. But long story short, we basically run your information through this automated underwriting system to get a risk assessment to see if Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD, which is FHA, if any of these entities are going to be willing to work with the information you provided us to be able to back this loan we're about to give to you. So those are two pieces of realistic information, like factual information, that we'll get when doing a pre-qualification. But like I said, your income is still stated. We haven't verified it. How much money you say you have in your account is still stated. We haven't verified those things. So when doing a pre-qualification, it's still not quite as tangible as hard evidence of you be able to get approved for a mortgage. It's basically saying, based upon the information you gave us, we think we can go ahead and give you a mortgage. Now, I mentioned when doing a pre-qualification that will gather your information and run it through the AUS system, the automated underwriting system, to kind of do a risk assessment to see if we can get you qualified or if the loan will be backed by those entities that backs mortgage loans. Sometimes a bank or a certain institution may have what's called portfolio programs. That means programs that they offer specifically through their entity that isn't backed by a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or a HUD or a VA, in which they aren't running your information through an automated underwriting system. They're just simply going off the information that you gave them, looking at the guidelines for that particular program and seeing if it works for you and pre-qualifying you that way. So your information isn't always ran through that automated underwriting system when you're pre-qualified, depending upon what loan program is being used. Excuse me, I started stuttering there. Information isn't always ran through the automated underwriting system, depending upon what particular loan program is being used. So, pre-approval. If you remember when we were talking about pre-qualifications, we were talking about a lot of stated information. Your stated income, the stated amount you say you have in your bank account, the stated amount you say you have in your 401k, all stated information. When we do a pre-approval, we start very similarly with the pre-qualification. We'll take your stated information, we'll run that through the automated underwriting system and get an answer whether the loan's going to get approved or referred. But taking it a step further and getting a pre-approval or commitment letter is how sometimes it's referred to as. We're taking this information that we get from the automated underwriting system, your W-2s, your paycheck stubs, your bank statements. We're gathering those documents and we're submitting it to an underwriter for initial underwriting. What that initial underwriting is going to do is tell us whether or not, based upon the underwriting guidelines that we got from the automated underwriting system and the particular program that we're trying to use, if we're going to be able to pre-approve or if we can commit to doing this loan based upon the information that we have. So a lot of times a realtor or you yourself may want to get pre-approved for a program just to kind of be more sure that your loan is actually going to go through if you actually get on contract. A commitment letter or a pre-approval letter is one step further than a pre-qualification because you actually submitted your documentation over to the loan originator or the loan officers so an underwriter can look at it to review it to see if it's going to be sufficient documentation to use for a loan program. So that's essentially what a pre-approval is. So now that we know the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval, you may ask yourself, well, why would I get one versus the other? Why would I just get a pre-approval just to kind of get further along in the process and make sure I can do something versus just getting a pre-qualification? Or why would I get a pre-approval when I can just get a pre-qualification and still go look at homes, still be able to get on contract and find something and, basically do it that way? So there is certain circumstances in which a pre-qualification or pre-approval may be better for you. One specific situation why you may want to go with a pre-qualification versus a pre-approval, let's say you're shopping around different lenders. You're calling 2 to 3 different lenders trying to see who has the best program for you, who has the best rates using that program. And so in that case, you may not want to actually send all your information over to them, your bank statements, your paycheck stubs, because that's a lot of documentation to be able to gather together to be able to send over to them. So you may say, hey, I just want to get pre-qualified for right now. Let me use my stated information to see if you can get me approved. And then I'll decide once I figure out which lender I want to go with, then we'll take it a step further. But for right now, let me just get pre-qualified so I know what you're offering and what you can do for me. So that's the reason why you may want to use a pre-qualification versus a pre-approval. Now, to take it a step further with the pre-approval, the reason you may want to get that instead of a pre-qualification, well, first things first, some instances, realtors and listing agents want you to have a pre-approval to accept your contract. I was dealing with a customer a couple of weeks ago, and he was purchasing a home, and it was a higher price home, and his realtor advised him that for that particular home, after speaking with the listing agent, they're only going to take you seriously if you're pre-approved versus pre-qualified. And remember what I said before about having a pre-qualification, it's all stated information. So with this higher price home, they want to make sure you actually make the income, make sure you actually have the down payment, things of that nature to be able to buy this home you're talking about going on the contract for. So that's one instance why you may want a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification. Another reason I'm thinking about is once you actually find your lender, after you shopped around, talked to 2 or 3 different lenders, once you actually find your lender, know you're going to go with them, while you're in the process of looking at homes, you can start submitting your documentation over to them to get pre-approved. So that way, having that pre-approval while you're shopping for homes, once you go on contract, you have a commitment letter or a pre-approval letter to show them that, hey, listen, I already submitted my documentation to these people. They already seen it. They said they can do it. So I'm a serious buyer when I come to you about buying this home. And then also, it's going to expedite your contract process in terms of you being able to close on that home, because half of the work is already done. You already submitted your documentation to these people. Basically, you just submitted all the home information, the appraisal, the contract, the survey if one's needed, so on and so forth. And then getting that stuff done, which is going to expedite your contract process because your underwriting stuff is technically already been looked at already. So that's the reason why you may want to get a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification also. One thing I do want to make very clear in regards to a pre-approval and a pre-qualification is the fact that neither one of which are a guarantee that you'll be able to get a loan to buy a house. I get asked that very often. Hey, is this a guarantee? Can you guarantee we'll be able to do this? There is no such thing as a guarantee when doing a mortgage. It's very easy for us to get you pre-qualified, to get you pre-approved, be going along in the process, and then something comes up where we're not able to verify job history. We're not able to verify rental history. Things may come up with their home. The appraisal may come in low. There's a lot of different moving pieces that can come into place that can prevent you from being able to get a home or getting a loan program that may work for you. So even with getting a pre-qualification, even with getting a pre-approval, there's no such thing as a guarantee when you get these items that you will be able to get this mortgage to get a home. And so please keep that in mind, okay? So generally, my purpose for doing these episodes and giving you all this information is for you all to feel more empowered and basically have more information about what to do. I try not to give personal opinions about what I think you should do. Obviously, because I don't know your personal situation. It's very generalized, of course. But if you were to ask my 2 cents, I'm always going to ask you or push you to do a pre-approval, mainly for the simple fact that, like I said, we're already getting your stuff looked at. We're getting your stuff underwritten initially as well. So I know what I'm going to need going into that loan program and going on the contract. And then also, like I said before, is going to help to expedite that contract process in terms of you closing just a little bit faster. Now, there's always things that could pop up with the home. Like, for example, if the appraisal comes in low, like, for instance, if it needs a survey and it's taking long to get a survey done, if the home wasn't properly coded, up to code with the county in terms of this extra add-on they had on, now it's an issue getting that straightened out, some titling issues. So it's always some things that could come up, but at least the underwriting part of your income, your assets, and things of that nature is done. And now we can just dive through getting that stuff sorted out to get you to be able to close. So I'm always going to push you to do a pre-approval just because it helps smoothen and expedite the process in terms of you being able to buy that home. So you don't have to. You can get a pre-qualification and still go through the contract process. I've done it a number of times. But if you can't get a pre-approval, I feel like it's going to be less headache on you when you actually get a contract. But that's just my 2 cents once again. Now, let me say this. And once again, this is 2 cents, maybe 3. But you shouldn't be going to look at homes without being pre-qualified or pre-approved. Now, I'm not talking about driving around a neighborhood, going to a couple open houses, something like that. Obviously, that's perfectly fine. You can do that anytime you want to. I'm talking about you shouldn't be going to look at homes and getting under contract without being pre-qualified or pre-approved. Generally, your realtor, the listing agent, isn't going to create a contract for you without being pre-qualified or pre-approved. But I have seen it done before, and that's not something that you would want to do, mainly because you haven't talked to someone, you haven't had your information ran, just to make sure that you can actually get a loan. And the last thing you want to do is lose money because now you're outside of your contingency period in terms of be able to get your earnest money deposit back because you're not able to get qualified for a loan. Now, obviously, you can get on a contract, talk to a couple lenders. They say you're denied, and go get your money back. But typically that's extra work. Get pre-qualified first. Get pre-approved first. Have the information knowing that you can get something before you get on contract, and save yourself some headache. Please, save us all some headache, please. So just a quick sneak peek. This is what a pre-qualification letter looks like. Very generic. Like I said, it gives the loan program, the rate we got you pre-qualified for at the time, how much home we think you can afford. If you notice on this letter, it says this is not a approval, because guess what? It's not. It's basically a pre-qualification telling you, what we think you can do, what we think can get you pre-qualified for at what rate with using this program. So it's very generic, very plain Jane, but it is at least a let's go shopping letter to show your realtor or show a listing agent that, hey, I did get my information looked at. They said they do think I could purchase a home. Here we go. So here's what a pre-qualification letter looks like, okay? Now here we have a pre-approval letter or a commitment letter. If you notice, it looks a lot different than your pre-qualification letter. For first thing first, it's a little bit longer. But second thing, it lists out the items for us to get to be able to fund this loan, to be able to complete this loan. So we have more information upon what we're going to need to get this loan done for you, which is why I say a pre-approval. A lot of times a realtor may want you to get, or a listing agent may want you to have, which is why I a lot of times suggest getting a pre-approval. It basically is a step further than that pre-qualification, saying that, hey, this person has the documents already looked at. We know we need this, and this to make this loan program work. As long as we follow these guidelines, then we're good to go. Let's make it happen. So just to recap a bit, pre-qualification, pre-approval, you can get either or, go shopping for a home, find yourself on a contract, get ready to purchase that next home for yourself. They are two different things, of course. Remember, your pre-qualification mostly uses stated information. Your pre-approval, you actually submit your documents over to your originator, your loan officer, so they can get it underwritten for you to start that process. So you can go either or. Like I said before, I gave you my suggestion of which one I think I prefer for you to do. But once again, you don't have to do that. But those are the two differences between the two. Hopefully you found this information helpful, okay? So that wraps up things here on Let's Talk Mortgage. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you found this information useful. Go out there and buy a home. I'll see you again next time.